Hey there, it's Donna from Social Media Bomb. A couple of days ago, I came on, I did a live video and I was talking about basically a man I saw. I was out walking the dogs and I saw a man with no arms and pretty much no legs. He had no usable legs anyway, and he was walking his dog. And I watched him and I was filled with joy about how he had managed to overcome all the obstacles in the way of allowing him to walk his dog. And it just reminded me of all the times that I hear people saying the words, I could never. And I spoke about there's two main reasons that people do this. And the first is that they just don't want to do it, which is absolutely fine. And the second reason is that they're using it as an excuse to stop them from doing something they actually do want to do, but subconsciously know that they're going to get into discomfort doing it. So in that video, and if you haven't seen it, just scroll down. It's the one where on my side, 90 degrees out. Go watch that. But I discussed basically about group number one and about how it's okay to not want to do what other people are doing. And sometimes when someone is talking to us quite passionately about something that they're doing and that it's a really good thing, so they might be doing a particular exercise a regime and they're losing weight and they're looking really fantastic, and we just don't want to do it, right? We just don't want to do it. We know we would never do it, but somehow we interpret that as meaning something negative about ourselves. So rather than see that, we just say, I could never do that. It's like a blanket clause that we use as an excuse, when in reality we just don't want to do it. And I talked about that and said, look, you got to give yourself permission to not want to do things, and about how we're all different to each other and how that's perfect. That's fantastic that we're all different, because wouldn't the world be a very boring place if we're all clones of each other? But to be kind to yourself and to give yourself permission to not want to do stuff. And instead of saying the words, I could never, which is a total lie, right? Because if you wanted to do something, you would do it. So rather than using those words as a lie, and kind of putting yourself down, because in a way you're saying, hey, I'm not as good as you, I could never do that, right? And that's not true. So rather than using those words, just embracing what they are doing and what they're telling you, and say things like, hey, good on you, that sounds fantastic, you're looking really good, or sounds like it's going great for you, but don't feel like you have to make an excuse for why you yourself would not do it. Today I want to cover the second type of person, the person who would like to get from point A to point B. So if you know that they're here and there's somewhere they would like to do, there's something they would like to be accomplishing. It might be a business. It might be, like for me, for instance, I want to learn to play the violin one day. So at the moment, what's stopping me from getting to there is that I say I don't have enough time, things like that. Okay. So I want to get to here, but instead of doing it, I'm just saying I could never do that. I want to talk about that today, because if you have something that you desperately would love to do, it might be a deep desire, it might be something that you've never shared with somebody, but you want to do it, but you're using the blanket clause, I could never do that, as an excuse, then I want to talk to you now about that. So I want you to imagine that you've got a blanket laid out on the ground, and that blanket is the words, I could never do that. And on that blanket, you've piled all this stuff. It's all these reasons, all these excuses, all these things that are really stopping you, right? And then you've tied this blanket up. You tied the corners up, and it's a nice pile now. And now you've picked that up and you're carrying it around with you, okay? So now it's a nice, tidy blanket, all tied up. But it's a little bit heavy, you know? It's a little bit awkward. It's kind of getting in the way. And you're carrying this thing around and you're saying, I could never do that, I could never do that. And you're stopping yourself from achieving something that you would really love to do with this big excuse. So if that is you, I want you to take that blanket full of all these reasons for why you're not doing it. Not you couldn't do it, but why you're not doing it. And I want you to put that blanket down. And then what I want you to do is I want you to untie the corners of that blanket, and I want you to spread it back out flat, and I want you to look at the pile that's on that blanket, because these are the things that are stopping you from getting to where you want to be. And then I want you to analyze them. I want you to pull them out and look at them, and I want you to write them down. Start writing a list of all these things that are stopping you from where you are now to where you want to be, and write them down. So they might be things like, I don't have time. I'm a single mum, it's too hard. I'm not sure where to start. I don't know what to do. I'm not good enough. Everyone will laugh at me. I'm not tech savvy. I don't know how to sell. So this is from our clients. I don't know how to sell. I don't know how to get clients. My friends won't like me anymore. Sometimes we have this fear that if we get successful, our friends won't like us anymore. Sometimes that's true, but that's a topic for a whole other video. So lay these things out, okay? Look at them, write them down, these are the dream killers. These are the things that are stopping you from getting from your A to your B. Once you've written them down, I want you to split them up into two groups. One group is mindset issues. So these are the things like, I'm not good enough, everyone will laugh at me, okay? These are the stories that you're telling yourself. And the reason you're doing that is to stop yourself from getting into discomfort. Our brain, our primitive brain, is wired to want to keep us safe, okay? And one of the ways it does that is it tries to prevent us from doing anything that's going to get us out of our comfort zone, and it's going to, that might get us laughed at, that might get us kind of like cut off from the pack, because back in the day when the primitive brain was our main brain, being cut off from the pack meant death. Okay, it meant that we weren't a part of society. It meant that we weren't part of the group, and that meant death. And our primitive brain is always looking out for us and always trying to stop us from cutting ourselves off from the herd. Now, what that means is that when we want something that's going to get us out of the comfort zone, then the primitive brain puts the brakes on, and it makes us tell ourselves stories like, I'm not good enough. Everyone will laugh at me. I could never do that. Okay? So put those mindset things to the side, and then what you're going to do is you're going to spend time with those and realizing them for the story that they are. Realizing that there's no reason that you could not be doing these things. If somebody else can do it, there's absolutely no reason why you can't do it as well. And yes, when you're first starting out, maybe it's going to be difficult. Maybe some people will laugh at you, but that's okay, because if you have your mind firmly fixed on where you want to be, then none of that is going to matter. So that's the mindset issues, and I will cover that more detail in later videos. But now I want you to look at the other pile. So the other pile is the actual real obstacles, the tech obstacles, the don't know what to do obstacles. They're the things that are really getting in your way. So write them down. And now what I want you to do, and you can do this a couple of ways. You can just brainstorm it, or you can do an interview process where you're interviewing your future self, where you're interviewing yourself that has already made it to be, because they're there already, right? And you can talk to them about these things and ask them what they did to overcome them, because this may sound strange if you've never heard this concept before, but we already have all the information that we already need in our brain. And sometimes by interviewing our future self, we can unlock it. And your future self might tell you, hey, you need to get help. I need to get help to overcome that. Or it might say, hey, that's easy. You just need to learn how to do this. Okay, so write down all these real obstacles that are stopping from getting in your way, and write down what you can do about it. And then what I want you to imagine is that you're at the start line, you're at your point A, and your point B of where you want to be is in the future. So whether that's streaming, building a business, or it just might be something like, for me, learning the violin, it might be something like that. And now I want you to imagine that someone has fired the starting gun, and you're running along, and you're getting to point B, and then all of a sudden you come up against an obstacle, and it's a massive rope wall, and it's stopping you from getting you to your point B. And then you're looking at this rope wall, and you realize that while it might be difficult, it's certainly not impossible. And sometimes we can climb these rope walls by ourselves, and sometimes we need help getting over them, and that's okay too. Nobody who is truly successful at what they're doing has ever gotten there by themselves. Nobody. We all need help in life. We all need help in business to get where we're going to go. Okay, so I want you to do those things. I want you to imagine the blanket that you're carrying around that's full of the things that are stopping you from where you're going to get. You're getting to where you want to be. I want you to lie that blanket down, and I want you to pull those things out. I want you to write them down. And then I want you to separate them into mindset issues and to actual obstacles that are stopping you from getting where you want to be. Then I want you to brainstorm what you could do to overcome those obstacles, and imagine yourself running that race of where you're going to get to. Okay, so over the next few videos, I'm going to cover some of these obstacles in more details that I think you might be having, and I'm going to offer you some tools as well that are going to help you get there. So I hope that wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day and that you're safe, and I will see you in the next video.